Now, the Amotekun polls, of course, you are not unaware of all of the reactions that have trailed the launch of the security network in the southwest of Nigeria, codenamed Amotekun. To have this conversation, we have with us here the President's Center for the Rule of Law, Olasupo, here in Lagos, as well as the National Secretary, Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore, Saleh Alhassan. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Let's begin with you here in Lagos, Mr. Ojo. So this conversation has started and has been on for a while. What do you make of all of the furore over these conversations?
I think it's positive, very, very positive, in my view. Is another opportunity for all well-meaning Nigerians to pick their magnifying glass and X-ray Nigeria once again. It's another opportunity not only to re-examine the security network and system in Nigeria, the welfare of the people, most especially, has come under threat. It's also an opportunity to look at the constitution that we say we are using in Nigeria. Is it relevant to the current reality?
Are you saying that this conversation is not just about security?
It's not just about security. It's about the lives of the people themselves. Laws are made for man, not man for law. If it's because I'm alive, that's why we are talking about Amotekun. Or any other security. If I'm dead, I won't be here. If I've been killed by some rampaging herdsmen, I will not be here.
So what's your point about whether or not the Constitution is relevant? Are you saying it's not relevant, the Constitution?
I'm not talking about relevant. I'm saying that there is need to look. It's an opportunity to now look at that Constitution based on the current reality in Nigeria as of today. The Constitution is
what context?
Yes.
Would you...
In the context of the entire structure, the architecture of Nigeria, the architecture of its security, the architecture of its administration and system of governance, even financial architecture, and revenue architecture, even legislative architecture. Look at the entire exclusive list, concurrent list, the entire constitutional architecture. This issue has just reawakened it. And this is an issue that has been discussed since I was in the university.
Okay, let's begin.
Over 30 years ago.
Let's have Mr. Alhassan's comment as well. So, Mr. Alhassan, what's your take on all these conversations around Amotekun? Why should it be an issue?
I think for us, Amotekun, that is the Yoruba tribal militia, is one of the greatest threats to democracy now we have in place. Because you cannot empower an ethnic militia that have a history of violent crimes, because essentially what you have at Amotekun is OPC, Odua People Congress, that have a history of heinous crimes and killings. And the proponent of Amotekun has not hidden who their targets are. They have consistently said their targets is to make sure they displace the herders from the southwest. And we are afraid because if they don't tempt this monster at the early stage, it's going to be a serious disaster for the country. So I think it's good that the federal government have, though belatedly, taken up the initiative to declare this monster illegal.
How did you arrive at that conclusion, calling it all those names?
Yes, it's all in the social media. If you Google, they have never hidden their targets. And the vocal proponents of Amotekun, you see they have been consistently profiling the Fulani pastoralists in the media, consistently giving them all sorts of bad names. So now you arm a tribal militia essentially to go after these herders who do their economy in the bush. So I think it's a serious threat, not only to the pastoralists, but to the unity of this country.
Speaking about the social
because
media.
Up to now, there is no any legal framework for it.
Speaking about the social media.
For creating Amotekun.
I hope you can hear
And
me.
it's deliberate
Speaking about the social
because they
media.
want to leave it open.
Can you hear me, Mr. Alhassan?
On FETA's powers.
Can you actually hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So speaking about the social media, because you referred to it, did you hear, I'm not sure if you did, I'm just asking, did you hear the governor of Ekiti State, I think he said at some point that there's been several misrepresentation of what this means in social media in order to give this a bad name, in order to kill it. Did you hear that part, or it doesn't make any sense?
Yes,
even
the governor of Ekiti, coming from the civil society background, we are essentially very disappointed with him. He has allowed political ambition to becloud his sense of reasoning. In fact, we expected somebody like Fayemi to be the leading light among the Yoruba intellectuals, not to promote an ethnic militia of this nature because of politics.
You made a point which was based on your impressions of what you saw on social media. And I did ask you that in the same vein, the governor of Ekiti State did say what we see on social media shouldn't be taken as the true representation of what that is. In other words, the impression people gain from what he said is that those are not or shouldn't be regarded as the real fact. So you heard that statement, but you still chose to believe what you read on social media. Why?
Where is the law establishing Amotekun? What are the limits and bounds of the ethnic militia? What is their relationship with the Nigerian police? Are they going to own also their prisons? Who assented to the law if there is any law? We have not seen, all we have seen is positions from extreme elements, fundamentally irredentists from the Southwest that are taking ascendancy of the politics in the Southwest, championing this very divisive cause. Those are the things we have on the table. Where is the law? If you have the law establishing Amotekun, we will know the limits and bounds of the outfit. It's not the first time we have vigilante groups in many states, but they are all subordinate to the Nigerian police. So our fear is that the Yoruba politicians, for desperate reasons, are now creating an ethnic army to ambush
come to the
rest
political
of the
consideration of which you're trying to make. But let me, with respect to the legal perspective, let me bring in Mr. Olasupo here with us, your Center for the Rule of Law. He's questioning the legal basis upon this Western Nigeria security network.
I think there is need for my friend there to realize that at times the facts, reality on ground, propels legislation. It is not all the case. If he's a lawyer, if he's versed in law, jurisprudence, if we know that it is not at all times, in all cases, that the law moves ahead of society. It is better if those in charge of lawmaking are able to examine the reality on ground, then legislate in order to project to the future and chart a path for the people to be governed by that law. But at times, where those saddled with the powers of legislation has failed, for instance, to amend laws so as to make provision to meet the reality on ground, and the people move ahead of them, then the law becomes otious. It becomes irrelevant to the lives of the people. The security, the experience of the people in Nigeria generally, not only in the Southwest, so it should not be narrowed down to the Southwest. The experience has shown that the security architecture, the legal basis for security architecture in this country is no longer responsive to the needs of the people, and that the needs of the people has actually gone ahead, further ahead of the law. And this Amotekun network is, I've told you, is an opportunity, is an eye-opener. As further shown, is a demonstration to the whole world and to those who have eyes, who have inner eyes, to really know that the event, the reality on ground in Nigeria has overtaken the Nigerian constitution.
So when you hear statements...
So people can make moves later. Legislation can come later. The ISBA experience in Kano, it has been in existence before legislation came. It was never declared illegal. The civilian JTF, they are doing yeoman's job in the Northeast. I've met them. I've also participated in training them. There is no law that established them. But if a law will come tomorrow, nobody will object to it because we have seen. Even look at the civil defense that we have today in Nigeria. It was being operated by volunteers. Before recently, the National Assembly made a law to legalize it. So, the man, I think, my friend is just talking out of ignorance. Calling the governors of the Southwest irredentists. What does he know about that? I think he has to measure his choice of words. You know, we are civilized here. We try to allow things to go. Not that we also don't have other characters that they have, but education has made us to be very civil in whatever we do, in whatever we say, in our approach. So if we decide to put our cart before the horse, it's our right to put it before the horse. And at any time, we can then decide to say, okay, horse, change position. We are human beings. We have intelligence. So we are not animals. We are not subject to any. That Nigerian constitution, we are just demonstrating to them that it is otious, it is stale. It's no longer relevant to the current situation on ground. And the law for Amotekun will come when those in power, the legislature, when they feel now it is necessary. It's even good to allow the people to have a feel. They are feeling the pulse of the people. They will then know whether the people are against it or not. And when they know the people are not against it, then it will be easy to pass those laws.
Right. So let's go to Mr. Alhassan in Abuja and get him to also wade into this. So Mr. Ojo has given the example of Hisbah, for example. He talked about the civilian JTF. He even brought the civil defense into, this analogy, comparing that with, what is happening right now. And I'd like to also add this to it, what Governor Akeredolu of Ondo State said. I mean, in response to some of these issues that have been coming up, he says that it is pertinent to say that, the ongoing discourse on the issue of Amotekun must not be misguidedly used as a platform to ventilate personal or group views aimed at oiling primordial sentiment and grievances. He went on to say, ethnicizing the current situation is even more helpful. Don't you think that is a danger we're getting into here?
Well, let me first clear my colleague in Lagos. Hisbah was clearly established by the Kano State Assembly. The board established Hisbah under Section 4, clearly spell out the limits and limitation of the operation of Hisbah, which is supposed to subordinate itself to the Nigerian police. That is clearly different from what you have now as Amotekun, claiming that they have to establish an ethnic militia before bringing law to enable it. I think it's treasonable. It amounts to treason because they don't have that right to do that. And we know what happened just in Lagos in the last election. Neighbors were treated, in fact, denied voting. And the Oba even threatened to throw them into a lagoon. So,
if you can hear me, just one thing I need to clear before you go on.
Ethnic militia.
You have time and again called it
what do you think
an
will
ethnic
happen?
militia. Just a moment. You have time and again called it an ethnic militia. But then we ask that, what proof do you have? And you mentioned social media, and I'm sure you've heard about fake news and how things can be put on social media just to sway opinion. So do you have any proof whatsoever that you can hold on to that you call this
is there
an
any
ethnic militia?
Group inside? Is there any ethnic group inside Amotekun? It's purely a Yoruba ethnic militia. And the earlier we stem the monster, the better for this country.
So are you saying you don't have any proof whatsoever to back that claim? Are you saying you don't have any proof whatsoever?
From the back door. In fact, it's a cowardly approach to the debate on restructuring.
I need to get your response on this. Are you saying you don't have any proof whatsoever to back why you're calling it an ethnic militia?
You know, there are proofs. It's evident. We have seen them. We have seen their behavior. Are there no OPC in another name? We have seen their killings during the time of Obasanjo. They killed so many people in Shagamu and part of Lagos. They have committed heinous crime, whether Amotekun or OPC, they are one and the same thing. And what we are saying clearly that we, the pastoralists, will not allow an ethnic militia that have clear agenda to stop us from our economic activity, clearly stating that they are going after the Fulani pastoralists and we will sit by and allow them. No, we are seeking protection from the government, from this very dangerous monster that they have created. Okay. We have the Agro Rangers created by the Agri Ministry. Why didn't they support the Agro Rangers if they are going to protect farms? What is their contribution to the Nigerian police? So this ethnic militia should not be allowed to function. Because if you do that, every other ethnic nationality have a right to create their own ethnic militia.
Okay, Mr. Alhassan, there is this information in the public domain, and I don't know if you are aware of it. Yes, the Kano State Hisbah Corps was established by the state government in 2003 to enforce Sharia law, but it was an institutionalization of formerly privately maintained Hisbah security units, which were not legal at the time. So in which way then do you think that if we're to take what Mr. Ojo said, that the law backing some of these things may come at a later date? Is there anything wrong in that?
No, there is fundamentally things. People already, the Amotekun, you see them carrying arms in a very primitive fashion, wearing all kind of charms, threatening people from doing their businesses.
Reference the existence of Hisbah units before it became an official, a legal body. Reference that.
No, but clearly there is a board established Hisbah. The limits and bounds of Hisbah was clearly stated in that. Despite that, the government of President Olusegun Obasanjo, through the Inspector General of Police then, Sunday Hindero, still declared Hisbah illegal. And even the leaders of Hisbah, Mal and Chidi, was arrested and his deputy. So the government must take decisive steps. Government should not allow very irresponsible ethnic irredentists to destabilize this country.
Please, Mr. Alhassan, we are trying to have a fine conversation. Mr. Alhassan, one moment.
We see politics in Amotekun, not security.
One moment. We're trying to have a reasonable conversation so that the people who are watching and listening can learn. Kindly choose these words carefully because people out there may not understand, the perspective with which you are saying, and then whatever you are saying may be taken out of context. But let's bring this back to Mr. Ojo. Well, apparently from his reaction, it seems that some people have fears, have concerns about the establishment of Amotekun. Is there do you think the conversation has been put out there strongly enough for people to understand that there should be no reason to fear?
You see, this is one of the reasons why the governors in this part of Nigeria has been warning people not to ethnicize this. Listening to my friend, Mr. Hassan, is actually coming from another dimension entirely. He has ethnicized it, and he has also looked at it, he has commercialized it too. He's looking at his own economy, vis-a-vis the security of the lives and properties of the people in the Southwest. And at times, when I view the fact that I'm a Nigerian, I question it. I say, am I a Nigerian? And I conclude I'm not.
Why?
Why? Because I can't imagine myself occupying the same space with some people who will be calling others irredentists, irresponsible, and so on. We are not operating at the same level at all. We are far from each other. The gap is so wide. I was teaching right to life sometimes. And I tell people, yeah, there is a right to life to every Nigerian, Section 33 of the Constitution. But that right to life depends on the value attached to life by the different sectors of Nigeria. So the same law, right to life, cannot apply equally in every part of Nigeria, it can only apply based on the value attached to human life by different parts of Nigeria. So, I mean, I was trying to do an analysis of that right to life. So it should not be taken for granted, but because the Constitution has guaranteed right to life.
But that's the ground norm.
You said?
It's the ground norm.
Yeah, it is the ground norm. I'm saying the sociology of it, the reality of it, is that documentation does not make it real, in the real sense, to say that everybody attach the same value to human life. So now, on some of these issues that my friend has said, look, there is no apology. I have no apology. I support Amotekun, the emergence and the continuation and the sustenance with the wealth of the people of the Southwest. Do you know how much each state government in the Southwest spent on the police, federal police? Do you know? Billions of naira. And if you check the Constitution, police is not even in the concurrent list.
But different state governments across the country spend money on police.
Yes, I'm telling you, all those money being spent, they are illegal. Can the Attorney General declare those money being spent on police as illegal?
How are they illegal?
Because there is no law that empowers the Constitution does not empower any state government to spend on the police. The police is a national institution. It is a national budget. The federal government should make every provision for the police. But if you see extra budgetary allocations to the police by state government, go and ask them. They buy vehicles, they buy communication gadgets, they even buy uniforms. Each state now is trying to provide for a federal police. So Amotekun is another demonstration of the failure of the national police system. But and the police system itself, they also know that they don't have the wherewithal to secure the entire country. So on this issue of saying that people have no right to secure their lives and property, the legality, leave it apart. That one will come later. And the issue of Amotekun has come to stay. And if you look at it, my friend is leading an organization, businessmen. What is their total number in Nigeria? What is the total number of the members of his association? Vis-a-vis the millions of people in the Southwest who clamored for this and to whom their government has given this. So he cannot use the business of his own minute business people, business association. It's just an association. Okay, it's not a nation. We are talking of a nation.
Okay, the governor said that the Amotekun was set up to fight criminality and bandits, primarily.
Yes.
Let me ask Mr. Alhassan. So you are aware what the governor said, that Amotekun is to combat bandits and criminals. In what way does that describe members of your association?
Well, banditry and criminality should be fought decisively. But the point we are trying to make is that Nigerians should not be oblivious of the intention of the promoters of Amotekun. We have been following them.
That's not the question, Mr. Alhassan. Let's stick with the question. Mr. Alhassan, let's stick with the question. Are your members, are you confirming, are you saying that the people who have been called cattle rustlers, who have been attacking people's farms, are you saying that some of them are your members?
No, our members are not cattle rustlers, they are not bandits, but our members carry out their economy in the rural areas of cattle herding. So our fears is that by the time you have this illegal ethnic militia, our people will be the target. That is our fear. Mr. And the proponents have not hidden their intention on that.
Okay, just a quick one.
Because if you look at some of the vocal proponents of Amotekun, look at their hate speech.
Well, pardon me,
somebody like Femi Fani-Kayode,
let me ask you this before
we
wind down
Go to his page and see what he is writing about the Fulani people.
Just a minute. You were quoted to have said that the Southwest should forget 2023 presidency if they don't scrap this. Did you actually say that? Are you trying to blackmail them or twist them not to allow this to be?
It's not a blackmail. unfortunately, with very strong apology to my Southwest friends, despite the education of the Yoruba people, they still remain the most primitive in terms of political culture. They are not tolerant to opposition.
Mr. Hassan,
And if you allow them to have an
Mr.
ethnic
Hassan,
army,
I'm afraid we have to have a civil conversation. So if you keep going that way, you know, you'll offend the sensibilities of a lot of people on that one. But, you know, his raised fears and concerns about how this is going on. What would you say to that?
Yeah, to that I would say when a house or property owner engages security guards to protect his property, it is only those who intend to come and violate his right to property, who intends to come and steal his property, that will be entertaining fears. I hope you get the point I'm making. So, all those who are afraid are those who see themselves as possible, maybe persons who may be prevented from carrying out their own negative activities if Amotekun is allowed to stay. But I must say that there's no apology. Like I've said before, Amotekun is the voice of the people. We are not talking about politics here. We are not talking about anybody's economy. We are not talking about anybody's tribe. In fact, part of the aims of Amotekun is even to protect non-Yorubas against any harm. It says no harm. Once you are in the Southwest, no harm shall befall you. Right. Amotekun is to protect everybody. So, and I want my friend to go and really sit down and learn more. And especially learn to be very civil.
We have to end this at this point. Of course, we always have a duty to ensure that we allow civil conversation to go on. That's why we always have to ensure that we don't say things or words that will offend sensibilities of certain people. That's why we always invite all people to come and speak to us. So when they do go beyond that bound, we'll have our duty to always do that. But gentlemen, Mr. Olasupo, President, Center for the Rule of Law, and as well as Saleh Alhassan, National Secretary, Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore. Thank you both for coming on this morning.